Planet of the Apes franchise has been handled by several talented and even iconic filmmakers over the course of its 50-plus year history. While Wes Ball is the most recent and current director to tackle the series, I think there are tons of other directors who could potentially be exciting picks in the future. If you like what I do here and want to show your support, be sure to hit the like button on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all things Apes. Enjoy the video. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Ape Nation, your #1 source for all things Planet of the Apes on YouTube. My name is Josh, and today I wanted to make a video that I've been thinking about doing for a while now, and that is the top 10 directors that I would like to see make a Planet of the Apes movie. So as you all know, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, obviously there's no need for a new director right this moment because Wes Ball is currently the one working on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and potentially the sequel if that gets off the ground. But for the time being, we just know that he is directing this first movie in this new trilogy. However, there have been lots of really great filmmakers like Matt Reeves and Franklin J. Schaffner, who directed the original, and even though his movie wasn't great, Tim Burton, who is a filmmaker that when he's on his A game, I really love, and he's one of my favorites. And so I thought it would be a lot of fun to talk about filmmakers that I think could be great fits for this series. Obviously, if Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes ends up being great, which I think it's going to be, I hope that Wes Ball comes back. But if he doesn't come back, these are some of the filmmakers that I would personally pick. And also, even if he does come back and does the second and third film in this trilogy, these are also people that I think could potentially direct Planet of the Apes movies down the line, you know, if they decide to do a third trilogy in this overall timeline. So again, no one's going anywhere. I'm not saying this is who should do the next Planet of the Apes movie. I'm just saying these are just filmmakers that I think would be great to do a Planet of the Apes movie in the future, whether it's the next movie or 5 movies from now after Wes Ball is gone. Whatever the case may be, these are my top 10 picks for directors that I would like to see directing a Planet of the Apes movie. So now I'm going to get into my actual top 10 list. Just quickly before I do get to my number 10, I'm going to go 10 through 1. I'm going to rattle off a couple of honorable mentions. These are just directors that almost made the list, but they got beat out. First director on the honorable mentions list is James Mangold. Next person on the list is Gina Prince Bythewood. Then we have Joseph Kosinski, followed by Neil Blomkamp, and followed up by Michael Sarnowski. I think all 5 of these guys are really interesting and different, really talented filmmakers, and I've seen most of their work. They just didn't quite crack my top 10 of filmmakers who I personally want to make a Planet of the Apes film. I'm not saying they wouldn't be a good pick. I definitely think they all would be good picks. That's why they're honorable mentions, but they just aren't quite in the top 10 for me. So with that all being said, let's get to my number 10. And my number 10 is Johan Renck. For those who do not know who Johan Renck is, he is the director of the upcoming Spaceman film starring Adam Sandler coming to Netflix this March. He is also the director of the Chernobyl miniseries on HBO, which was also written by Craig Mazin, who did The Last of Us, but he's the one who directed all 5 of those episodes. I think this guy is a star director in the making. I'm really excited for his upcoming Spaceman movie, and what I think would make him a really great fit for a Planet of the Apes film is he's good with telling grounded stories. He's really good at building realistic tension and presenting really engaging drama with really compelling characters. I felt this way a lot when watching Chernobyl, which is one of my favorite television shows, miniseries, or just long form shows ever. I love that show so much. If you haven't seen it, I cannot recommend Chernobyl enough. It's fantastic. It's a phenomenal show. And while that is my only real exposure to him, seeing the trailers for Spaceman, which is again coming out this March, it shows a lot of promise with him having more experience with visual effects and getting to play with that drama and that tension on a much bigger scale, doing something closer to the science fiction genre. So I'm really excited to see what he can do as a filmmaker, and I really love what I've seen of him so far, and I see a lot of potential in him as a filmmaker, and I think he has a lot of the traits that would make for a really great Planet of the Apes movie. So that is why Johan Renck is my number 10. Coming in at number 9, Takashi Yamazaki. For those who do not know, this is the director of the most recent Godzilla film, Godzilla Minus One. This is a foreign language Japanese film that came out last year. It's kind of taken the world by storm with just how many people have seen it, how many people loved it, and I loved this movie. I loved what he did with Godzilla Minus One. I haven't seen his other work, admittedly. I've heard good things about his other work, but I haven't seen it. But I'm just going off of my experience seeing this one movie that he made last year. His experience with visual effects on a very small budget, I think, gives him a lot of potential to do even more incredible things with a bigger budget. I mean, the movie was nominated for Best Visual Effects at this year's Oscars, and I think just seeing how much he was able to do with such a small budget, and granted, I know that there's differences with how budgeting works in the film industry here versus in Japan. I know there's a lot of things that are done differently and why it's so much cheaper there, but that being said, it was still done for a relatively small budget compared to the kind of movies that even Planet of the Apes are made on. And so I think giving him an even bigger budget, allowing him to grow into someone who can do work with a bigger scale film, he could do something really great with. I also think he just knows how to tell really character driven and emotional stories inside of a big blockbuster. He's really skilled with weaving important themes into the story in a really natural feeling way. And not that it really makes that much of a difference, but he has experience now with handling an iconic franchise with Godzilla, which has been around since the 1950s. So I think this guy's great. I really can't wait to see what he does next, and that's why I think he would be a great fit to make a Planet of the Apes movie. Moving on to my number 8, Greta Gerwig. Greta Gerwig is a director that I wouldn't say I wasn't a fan of her, but I wasn't really getting all the hype. I enjoyed Lady Bird. I thought it was a pretty good movie. I thought it was decent, but I didn't get all the hype. But when I saw Barbie last year, I suddenly got the hype. I just saw how interesting of a filmmaker that she is, and I saw what she's able to do behind the camera. And I'm not saying that I think Barbie's like a masterpiece or anything. I think it's a really good, really well-made movie. I don't love it as much as some other people do, but I think it's a really great movie. And what I love about Greta Gerwig is that she's made it clear that she knows how to tell stories on a really large budget that have something to say, and she knows how to say it in a really compelling way. She's great with character dynamics, and she's also really great with handling different tones, which is something that I think could be a kind of a new breath of fresh air that we bring back to the Planet of the Apes movies like we had in the older movies that kind of experimented a bit with tone. And she's just shown a lot of range to me now as a filmmaker. She's expanding even more soon with that Narnia movie that she's going to be doing for Netflix, and I think that she's proven to me that she knows how to handle both very small, intimate, personal, lower budget, character driven films, and also massive films that are part of a big IP like Barbie with larger than life talent like Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, and also knows how to keep it compelling and say something important with the story and make it engaging and do something fresh, and also work with a big budget and a big blockbuster setting and do all of that combined. So I think Greta Gerwig would be a really interesting pick, and that is why she is my number 8. Moving on to my number 7, Francis Lawrence. For those who do not know Francis Lawrence, he's been around in the industry for a very long time. He's directed movies like Constantine with Keanu Reeves, I Am Legend with Will Smith. He directed, obviously, most of the Hunger Games movies outside of the first one, and I think he did a really great job with those. He did Red Sparrow. He did the most recent Hunger Games movie. So I think Francis Lawrence is a really talented filmmaker. I've really liked, if not loved, most of his work. And what I really like a lot about him is that he's really great with large-scale stories and action scenes. He knows how to deliver a really entertaining and really thrilling blockbuster. He's also able to do that while getting really great performances out of his cast, and handles his character moments and emotional depth really well, and I think that's important for a Planet of the Apes film. And he also has a lot of experience with visual effects heavy movies, specifically visual effects heavy movies that are about a dystopian future that explore a lot of political themes, which I think ties perfectly into Planet of the Apes. So I think Francis Lawrence will do a great job, which is why he is my number 7 pick on this list. My number 6 pick on this list is Alfonso Cuarón. I am a huge, when I say huge, I mean huge fan of Alfonso Cuarón. I love every single movie that this guy has ever made. I think his Harry Potter film is my favorite Harry Potter film and one of my favorite fantasy movies ever. One of his earliest films, Y Tu Mama Tambien, I think is a phenomenal drama. Children of Men is one of the most incredible post-apocalyptic movies you will ever see. I loved what he did with Gravity and the visual spectacle of that, and I thought Roma was brilliant and beautiful, and I just loved that movie. It was one of my favorites of that year. I think this guy is a phenomenal filmmaker. He has such a wide range of experience with different genres. His experience with visual effects heavy movies and dystopian future movies are relevant to making a great Planet of the Apes film. He is incredible at pacing, telling really engaging character-driven stories, and I think he could also bring some really innovative and fresh camera work to the Planet of the Apes series. I'm not saying there hasn't been any in past films, but he does something with the camera that few other filmmakers do, and he really utilizes it as a character. He finds ways to do something engaging and interesting with the camera. He's known for a lot of one takes. I love Alfonso Cuarón. I think he'd be a great fit for a Planet of the Apes movie, and that's why he is number 6 on my list. Number 5. Gareth Edwards. Gareth Edwards, for those who don't know, is the director of most notably Rogue One, the first Star Wars spin-off movie we got back in 2016. He's also the director of the 2014 Godzilla film, his first film Monsters, which is a smaller budget film, and most recently The Creator. And The Creator is actually the movie that got me to put him on this list. Gareth Edwards is a really interesting director because I don't necessarily think he is a master of the craft, so to speak. I think he's a really, really talented filmmaker that just needs the right tools to make something great. And that's what we got, in my opinion, with The Creator, which was one of my favorite movies of last year. I know a lot of people didn't even like it or thought it was just okay. I loved it. I thought it was incredible. I think his extensive visual effects background and experience with performance capture is one of the biggest reasons why I think he would be a great fit for Planet of the Apes. He's really great at creating this epic sense of scale in a way that very few other directors I've seen in the last decade have. His films just feel huge. The world and the world building is phenomenal in every single one of his movies. I don't love Rogue One as much as other people do, but I like a lot of that movie, and a lot of what I like is attributed to the world building and the sense of scale in that movie. Same with his Godzilla film, and especially the same in The Creator. He also really knows how to capture mature and grounded tone that still feels exciting and adventurous. He kind of rides that fine line between making something that's really dark, but still that escapist adventure kind of feel that I think is perfect for Planet of the Apes. When he has a good writer, he has a good script, like in my opinion with The Creator, he can create some really emotional character moments. And the other thing, and this is a big thing, and it's similar to the director we have now with Wes Ball, is he has an extensive visual effects background. From what I understand, he actually started working in visual effects. He did all the visual effects for his first film, Monsters, on his computer. So he has an extensive VFX background with a lot of experience he could make for something really great. And I think he would be a really good fit for a Planet of the Apes film, and that is why he is number 5. Number 4, Jordan Peele. This is a pick that I have a feeling will never happen because there's just no way that he would ever do it, but I love Jordan Peele. Most people love Jordan Peele, whether it be from back in his Key and Peele days or because of him as a writer-director. Everyone loves Jordan Peele. The reason is because he's really talented and really great. And I think he'd be a great fit for Planet of the Apes because he knows how to tell stories with something to say that are meaningful. He's shown more and more range of talent with each movie and can handle larger scale movies. We saw when he went from Get Out to Us, which was a little more far out there and a little bigger. And then he went to Nope, which is my probably first, if not second favorite film of his, which I just loved how he created a bigger sense of scale on that movie, and I'd love to see him do that even more with a bigger budget. He's shown that he knows how to utilize the filmmaking techniques to make something really stunning visually and thematically. He knows how to create a lot of tension. What I also think could be interesting is that he could bring more of a Twilight Zone feel back to Planet of the Apes, something that we haven't really seen much of in the newer movies. I think he was actually the host of the most recent Twilight Zone reboot. Actually, he might have even been one of the showrunners or one of the writers, I don't remember. All of his movies have that Twilight Zone inspiration to them, and so I think he would do really well with bringing that kind of feel back to Planet of the Apes if that was a direction they wanted to go in. I think it could be really cool, and I think he'd be a great fit for it. So that is why Jordan Peele is number 4 on my list. I think he would be a great pick, and I would love to see him direct an Apes movie. That being said, I don't think he would ever actually do it. Number 3, Denis Villeneuve. Denis Villeneuve is probably my favorite working director today. I have loved pretty much every single thing that this guy has made, whether it be Blade Runner 2049 or Sicario or Prisoners or Dune, and I cannot wait to see Dune Part 2. It is one of my most anticipated movies of this year, just under Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, of course. And so I think he's such a talent. He's such a phenomenally gifted storyteller, and I think he would make something really visually stunning, just like every other movie he's made. I don't think the visuals and the CGI and all that stuff, I don't think it would even be a question of how good would it be with him. I think you would just automatically assume this is going to look like a phenomenal film. And then as for his experience, he has so much hands-on, direct, deep experience with science fiction and iconic science fiction franchises. He's shown himself as a master of large-scale stories with really great world building and really interesting characters, and tackling science fiction ideas and stories that are very relevant to Planet of the Apes, very politically and socially conscious themes and ideas. So I think Denis Villeneuve would make a phenomenal Planet of the Apes movie, but just like with Jordan Peele, I highly doubt he will ever do it. He is busy making Dune Part 2, probably soon Dune Part 3, and then I think there's some other thing that he wants to do. I think the time for him to ever do something like this is past, assuming he would even want to, but he is my number 3 pick because I think he would make a really great Planet of the Apes movie. Number 2, Alex Garland. This is a filmmaker that I have been buzzing about and excited about and couldn't wait to see the potential more of ever since I walked out of the theater watching Ex Machina in 2015. That was one of my favorite movies. It might have actually been my favorite movie that year. I can't really remember. But Alex Garland is a really different kind of filmmaker. He's someone who doesn't completely knock it out of the park every time, but he always makes something that I come away from just thinking about and buzzing about. And I think he could make an Apes movie that pushes the boundaries of what's been done thematically and feels relevant in the series. His experience with visual effects would also look and feel very grounded, as he did with all of his movies so far. I think he has potential to bring maybe a more slow burning Apes movie, or something that feels more mature and thought provoking to the franchise. Not saying it isn't those things already, but I think he could really amplify them. And I think he could do something really special and something really different for the Planet of the Apes franchise. And also, as we see in his movie that's coming out this year, Civil War, which I'm really excited about, he's shown that he's starting to be able to go a little bit bigger. He's now aiming for something that's a little bigger than just a low to mid budget science fiction film. He's going for something that's more in like that $70 million budget range, with more action set pieces, more stunts. And so I think he'd be really great. I loved what he did with Ex Machina. I thought Annihilation was a fascinating movie. Civil War, I think, looks fantastic. Also, 28 Days Later, which he wrote, he did not direct, Daniel Boyle directed, but he wrote back in the day, is my favorite zombie movie of all time. And so I think a lot of the themes that are talked about in that movie potentially could spill over into a Planet of the Apes film in some way. So I think this guy is great. I would be so fascinated to see what a Planet of the Apes movie directed by him and written by him would be like. He's a really great director. He's a great storyteller. He always does something interesting, and that is why he is my number 2 pick on this list. And finally, we get to my number 1 pick, and that is Ryan Coogler. Ryan Coogler is the director of Fruitvale Station, Creed, and both of the Black Panther films. He is one of my favorite directors working today. I love him so much. I cannot wait to see his next movie that was just announced a few weeks ago. I could not get enough of this guy. I wish he made more movies. I understand why he doesn't, but I wish he did. And why I think he'd be such a great fit for Planet of the Apes is he's so great with both small and intimate character work, but also massive scale world building. I think some of the world building in Black Panther, on top of just being the best that any of those Marvel movies have ever done as far as world building goes, and really just the superhero genre, he proved himself that he knows how to build a really engaging and detailed world with both of his Black Panther movies. Whether you look at the underwater world in the second film, or you look at Wakanda in the first film, he did such a great job at establishing what that world is and bringing it to life in such an engaging and innovative way, an interesting way, and it looks stunning. You really felt it. You felt the weight of it all. He also has gotten more and more experience with visual effects and action-heavy movies, not just with Black Panther, but also with Creed, which might actually be my favorite movie of his, if not the first Black Panther. It would also most likely mean that Ludwig Göransson, his composer collaborator, and Michael B. Jordan would both be joining the film in some capacity, because he has never made a movie without either of those. And when the three of them combine to make a movie, it always ends up being magic. So I would love to see those three join together to make a Planet of the Apes film. He also just knows how to tell a really engaging story that has something meaningful to say, and it's on a massive scale that can also still appeal to a wide audience. It can really appeal to everyone. When you look at Creed, when you look at the Black Panther movies, they're all telling stories that feel relevant, and they're all telling stories that feel important. And he does it in a way that isn't pretentious. He does it in a way that can appeal to anyone of any gender, any race, any age, and make it fun and make it engaging and make it emotional and make it thrilling. I think that is so important for a Planet of the Apes film, because when you look at all these movies, yes, they're very heavy with their science fiction. They're dark. A lot of them are very dark, but they're not edgy. They are dark, but they're purposefully dark, and they can appeal to people that are 10. They can also appeal to people that are in their 70s, and that's something I really have always liked about Planet of the Apes, and that's why, as much as I think there are other filmmakers on this list that are more talented, that are better just overall directors than Ryan Coogler, the skills that are in his wheelhouse are all those things that, when brought together and put at their absolute best, can make for what I think would be a really fantastic Planet of the Apes movie, and that is why he is my number one pick. So guys, that was my top 10 list of filmmakers that I would like to see make a Planet of the Apes movie. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Do you like my picks? Are there any of my picks you don't like? Let me know why. Let me know any ideas that you guys have had. Let me know all of your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you so much for checking out today's video here on Ape Nation. If you liked this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so that you can stay up to date on all things apes. I'll catch you in the next one, so until then, goodbye.